Good morning, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Millau. I'm learning it. I'm doing my best. I will still say it wrong a few times, but I'm practicing. For today's episode, I want to first off, I want to propose an experiment. Like the color settings you're seeing right now, some people have been wondering about them. Nobody's really been complaining about it, I think. Some people are a little bit bothered by them. They're pretty vanilla, which I kind of like. This is the settings I used while making the map, so I'm really sort of fond with them. It's pretty much the vanilla temperate map theme together with the vanilla European LUT thing. I'll show you where to find the LUT in the vanilla gameplay. You can, here, the color correction override thing. But I've also played around with a few different settings. So I have a render it profile that is more realistic, and I propose this episode we try playing with this instead. It doesn't change the map theme at all. The map theme is still the same. We might play around with that later, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And also, if you would be interested in a sort of render it, maybe graphics setup kind of style video, maybe a tutorial or something, like to show a bit more of that, because it's never really been easier to set up good graphics, I think, but there are so many mods around that it still becomes quite it feels very tricky, even though it kind of isn't. And there's been plenty good videos on it, like Gaseous Stranger has the most amazing video on how to make Cities Skylines look realistic. I would probably maybe rather show something more sort of minimal, I guess less is more kind of graphics, like how to use just one mod to make it look a little bit better. I don't know what. You guys let me know about that. This is the industrial area we built last time. It has problems. we have a very unfunctional city so far. We have factories that don't make any sense. We have an extreme lack of resource workers, resources, I suppose, as well, than these guys. But that's gonna sort itself out hopefully once we actually get developing the city. But today I want to start tackling. And I don't know if we're going to tackle it fully, but I want to start tackling another problem. And you might have noticed this. I don't know, I might have said something before about putting power production in this sort of industrial complex. And we don't really do that. I think this building technically does or can produce power. It needs more garbage to do so, though. It doesn't produce anything right now. I would like to actually produce power so we can get rid of, I mean, I guess we can get rid of this guy. Actually, we can get rid of an inland water treatment plant, and maybe we should get rid of this guy also. Yeah, let's have the garbage trucks go all the way, but this one stays for now. So we're gonna tackle that problem. I mean, you see there's plenty of problems, but that's the first problem, the electricity problem. And I've done a very cryptic community post. A lot of you guys have entered the poll and given comments, like, on what kind of electricity production you prefer, and like, sort of, what could Millau have? Or I did it again. Sorry, Mio. What means of electricity production should this map have? And the options are nuclear power, hydroelectric, and wind power. And I think, at least to start solving the problems, I want to build a hydroelectric power plant. Because hydroelectric power plants are really tricky to build in this game. Can be really tricky to build. Like, there's a lot of interesting things about it. And I think the trickiest part about it on this map is that the rivers aren't really that big or that flowing. This is a small river. Even the main river is kind of small. So, I don't know. I'm gonna try to show how to make it a more realistic, sane, small-scale hydroelectric power plant that kind of works. I've elected this area here. I've actually done this build already. I've built it just to practice because I knew this was going to be such a hard build. So I've tested it out and I've seen it kind of works. So now hopefully I'll be able to record building it also. Before the time lapse starts, I also need to remember to do this because I was playing at a way higher speed. If I do this in the time lapse, you're gonna get motion sickness. So I'm using play it to reduce the game speed a little bit, and that should help at least a little bit for the time lapse. So settle in while I grab my screenshot of this thing and try to recreate what I did on camera. The first thing I need to make sure now is that it actually functions as a dam. We want to make this as a functional dam as possible and have it produce electricity. And for that I have to break the thing I told you about earlier. I'm using the play it to increase the speed a little bit so we can see the water flow and how it affects the dam. But basically I'm placing down a dam, a very short dam, so it only creates one of those dam segments. And what I'm doing then is I'm using move it, holding down alt and selecting that dam segment and that dam segment, oh my god, and sort of straightening it out because you can do that with move it. We need to be very careful when doing stuff with move it to the dam because it might just break, and it might break in weird ways that can sort of leave weird ghost buildings and stuff like that on the map. So like, word of caution, be careful with dams. The way I move it is I never create any more nodes on the dam segment. I never delete any nodes. The nodes are the same, I just move them around. You can move them around freely, and you can see here I selected the outer nodes and I pressed plus with move it, and that like moves them further away from each other and like widens the dam. Well, I'm just playing around. So you can see like the dam is built up of a segment and this building, or this sort of I don't even know what to call it. It looks like a bunch of grates or something like that. I believe that's where the water actually gets sort of I guess dumped out of. Like, that's the thing that spawns the water on the downstream side of the dam, and the dam height is set by the segment. So what I do is I put that the dam building, the sort of the water spawner, downstream water spawner, at the height I need it to, and then I sort of move the segments relative to that, but I never disconnect them. These guys need to be connected for the dam to function. So it's very complicated. This I didn't know if this was going to work, to be honest. So but you can see I'm still playing around with it, messing around. Like, I'm also very conscious of having using like the water spawners, the water spawners and the water, I don't know what to call them. Yeah, the water spawners. Like, I'm placing a water spawner just downstream of the dam to stabilize the water flow that comes out of it. Yeah, here you can see me working that and changing the level. I realize everything here is, like, in the beginning it's very, very fast paced, but that's due to like the fact that I tested this before and I knew it was gonna work. Like, I spent a long time trying and designing this. Maybe I'll get the screenshot of the dam I built as a first attempt into the video. That would be nice. But I still like have to experiment around quite a bit to get this to work, and I'm trying to increase the production now, so it actually produces more power, and eventually I do reach a production of 80, which is the same as I did with the test dam. So it's a pretty successful dam, I think. Like, for this scale, this kind of small dam. I don't like to build dams too big, because too big dams are not always massive. A lot of the times they're relatively small, like this one. And what you could see me do there is I was just trying to show that this is actually outside of the 25 tiles, and a lot of people think and say that you can't do dams outside of 25 tiles. I don't know if that's really the case. Like, you can definitely make them and have them function for the water, that's proven by this guy here, but I don't know if electricity production is sort of wonky or something, but it's outside of a 25 tiles anywhere we're working now, so. Oh, and here I'm placing that another part of the dam, which is the sub-building dam middle node. I realized because we created a one segment dam, like a very short dam, it didn't spawn any, so I couldn't copy paste them, so I had to go into the sub-buildings tab to find it. And I'm also starting placing my first key. This dam will be made out of keys. We're using keys to sort of make it look good, make it look like a proper dam, because like this kind of dam, I believe it might be called like technically a gravity dam. I'm not entirely sure what that means either. You know what, don't listen to me. Look at the Wikipedia page for dams if you want to know what particular type of dam this is. But dam structures are much bigger, especially if you don't do them arched. They need to be like very big on both sides. Like it's like the iceberg analogy, kind of. You get so much more than the top part of it. They need to be massive to stop the water and to hold it back, because water is extremely powerful, especially if you place, or if you sort of force water to, if you prevent water from using its potential energy and going, you know, down the river. So dams are extremely robust, extremely sturdy, big structures, and sometimes they even fail anyway. So let's see here. What am I doing? I'm using the node controller to angle the outer parts of it, and also to widen these key segments. And I'm also using it to make them not sort of flatten at the edge, which is one of the things that I think recently was added to the node controller renewal, because I couldn't find it, at least before. It's a really, really good feature that I can't live without. So that's a huge reason why I'm now using node controller renewal. I was also using the move it mirror function, like to sort of basically make sure that these are placed symmetrically. So the move it mirror function is like, it deserves its own tutorial. It's such a great feature. You can do so many cool things with it. Basically what you do is you select anything you want to sort of mirror, and then you have a mirroring segment. Sometimes I just place a segment to be a mirroring segment and use that for the to copy things in a symmetric way. And like the opportunities are endless with that feature. It's like one of my favorite features. That and the lineup tool, lineup and slope and the rotates, and it's just so good. Here I actually decide I don't want it as wide, the individual keys, so I redo them a little bit. And it's starting to get a little bit more slow paced from now. It's starting to turn in more into something that I can manage to talk over, to be honest. It's been super stressful this beginning. I have this long list of things that I want to talk about that I might not be able to talk about because it's just too long. So, you know what? Might as well talk about the real world inspiration for this, or kind of a lack thereof. There is a dam downstream of Millau. Mio, I did it again. I'm sorry, guys. It's called, I'm zooming in. I'm trying to find it. It's, wait, where is it? It's on the Tarn River, or Tarn. I don't know how to pronounce that either, but there's actually two dams, but the one I've been looking the most at is the Barrage du Pouget, or Pouget. I think it's Pouget. It's a pretty large dam for this river, and it's like served as an inspiration for the scale anyway. But if anything, like, it's just the fact that there is a dam on that river. That's enough for me to, like, I was worried. I was more concerned about, like, is it possible to even do dams? Is it realistic to have dams in this area? And then I looked around and, like, yeah, it works. They have dams on these rivers, so might as well put one on my save. So this dam has the name. That's another thing I need the French language help for, but I'm gonna call it Barrage de la Vallée Verte. My pronunciation again. It's supposed to be the Green Valley Dam, and it was by a suggestion by Maz9200 to call something the Green Valley or Vallée Verte. And I think it's just really fitting because this area is really green and there's a lot of trees in this valley and the sort of adjacent valleys. So thanks a lot for the naming suggestions. Keep them coming. Please tell me how to pronounce these things. I realize now that I thought I had learned Millau, and I just forgot it. So I clearly need more help, guys. I'm so sorry. Oh, you can see me place those wave power buildings. Now it's starting to look more complete, to be honest. I did more key work, and I like to do keys by just dragging out and moving them with Move It a lot of the time. That's nice. And I placed those wave power buildings, which unfortunately aren't producing, but they are part of one of the earliest content creator packs, the high-tech buildings content creator pack by GC Voss. I think it's that, yeah. And it's a really nice pack, a very early pack that not a lot of people know about because the fact it was just so early. I think it was the second one after the Shroom Art Deco building pack. But they work really well as a sort of... It looks like that's where the water would come out of this dam. I guess full disclosure, I don't really... I mean, I'm an engineer. I'm supposed to know engineering things, but I don't really know how dams work more than sort of how they obviously work. They build up water on one side, and then they, you let the water go through turbines and stuff like that to generate electricity a lot of the time. There's also, I mean, yeah, I don't know too much. I do know there is a concept that might infuriate some people. This dam is lacking a spillway. A sort of a visual spillway anyway, a way for the water to sort of bypass the dam if there is too much water. Something you could either do by letting the water go over the dam or like through canals underneath it or to the side. I really like to build these. I do know like as much about dams to know that, but it's not... Yeah, unfortunately, it's not something I really did in this case. I could have done it, like in retrospect, I have some ideas to maybe include a spillway that goes over the dam in a functional dam, but it would be extreme. That would be a very, very hard build, I think, in comparison. That would be elevated a lot more, and I guess I elected for the easier one here. I'm super happy with how it turned out, so it's like, I don't really have any regrets that way, and... yeah, and here you can see me create a small parking lot. I'm talking about stuff after they happen, but I actually used from a train station's CCP. There's a small parking lot road that you can find if you search. I think you search like parking lot 01 or something like that in Find It, and it's not functional, but together with the new parking lot assets, the ones that were included in the base game, and the node controller to make them fit in scale. It looks really good. So that's the first time I actually try that, I think, and it will get used eventually. It's not too many cars using them so far, but it is functional. So that's a nice little touch, I think. I do believe I talked about Play It and having to sort of speed up the simulation a bit for testing the water. This should be at a lower game speed. Yeah, it should be back at the lower game speed again. Ooh, and here I accidentally flood. Yeah, I accidentally flood by yeah. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. This was the lesson here in this part. It was kind of good, and I messed it up. I was trying to do a Bringer of Fire style thing that was using more smaller water sources. Shout out to Bringer of Fire, by the way. He has a YouTube channel where he shows you like the best map making tutorial there is. Like he has so many cool ideas, especially about rivers and water flow. So I'm gonna link that in the description if you want to go check out another creator who is amazing at making maps and playing this game and like making amazing stuff for this game. Let's see here. What I've said to be careful about dams. I've talked about move it mirror function, even though like that's gonna come again. Like we're gonna talk about that more in the future, and node controller surely as well. So I'm sorry for just going to. I realized I maybe sped up this footage a bit too much. I'm not able to talk about all the stuff I want to talk about, but it's fine. It's fine. The sort of basic idea you should get is that first if you want to make a custom dam like this, first make it function and then work on the aesthetics, or like sort of detailing up around it. So everything like we do around it with keys and stuff like that doesn't really change the dam's function. It's very stable. It produces like around 80 megawatts for the whole, yeah, like for the whole time. Like it doesn't change. So it's really good to, really rewarding to see that actually. I know 80 megawatts is not a lot for a dam in City Skylines. It's not very efficient power source. It's extremely cost-wise, it's pretty bad, but I think it's decent enough for it's decent enough. It works, and it's very pretty. So we're gonna take that and be happy about it, I suppose. I have made similar custom dams with like 600 megawatt production before, but those were on much larger rivers with much higher water flow. So that's something to keep in mind. Like if you have more water, you will get more production, and that's also a good point. Since I'm working with the water sources, I should probably say that you need to have the upstream water source needs to be above the dam. That's a common issue when people make custom dams, that they have it actually below the height of the dam, because then it will stop producing water and it will start like actually controlling the water level or fixing the water level at that height instead of like keeping up flow. The upstream water source needs to be above the dam, otherwise it won't work. Very important thing to mention. I should have probably mentioned it earlier when I was actually making those water sources up the dam upstream at the map edge, but it was it all passed by so quickly, the blink of an eye. So I'm also playing around with the graphic settings, as I said in the intro. Let me know what you think about it. Like this video is my more realistic graphics, if that makes any sense. Like me trying out some more realistic graphics. I'm really liking how it looks, but I'm getting more and more attached to these new graphics, and I end up editing them a little bit more. But let me know what you prefer. In the cinematics in the end, there's actually a comparison. One of the shots I did a comparison beat between the two graphic settings, like roughly. It's not entirely fair to compare because I compare them at I think I compare them at the same time of day, and they look a bit. One of the graphic settings looks better at the earlier time, and the other one looks better at the later time. But I compare them at the same time. But I guess it's still a good it's a decent comparison. Yeah, like, so look forward to that. I think that was a really good shot actually. I liked that a lot. So we should probably also talk a little bit about the big elephant in the room. There's plenty of big elephants in the room, to be honest with this, but hydropower is not really that environmentally friendly. It might not produce any direct carbon by being there. Like it's not in that way. I mean, building a structure like that with large amounts of concrete is extremely carbon intensive, but I'm more thinking about the environment and the ecosystem that the dam sort of disrupts, it really is really bad for local wildlife and fish particularly, and any kind of life in the river. Like, this is a huge. I watched a video recently about how in California they're actually demolishing a bunch of really large dams just to get back. I think it was California, or it might have been Oregon, West United States anyway, and that was kind of eye-opening. Dams are not always that ecologically friendly. That's the point, but they are realistic and they do exist in the real world. So I really wanted to build one here. This is not going to be a, let's say, based city. You know, it's going to have its problems. It's going to have. I mean, we built the oil industry parts of oil industry last episode and stuff like that. It's going to have problems also. It's not going to be perfect. So I don't know what I'm rambling about, but yeah, just something to think about. Basically every sort of electricity production has its problems, and in dam's case it really messes up the local environment and the ecosystems. And of course also there's a lot of concrete is extremely carbon intensive. If you can avoid using that much concrete, you really should. Okay, that's enough environmentalist me rambling, but I'm sure I had something else to talk about. Yeah, here you can see me building, like, I don't know, some kind of water intake. I'm not sure if this is going to be water intake to the actual power production. I think it will be. I don't know where the power... I didn't really decide where the power is produced in this dam, because I couldn't quite figure out how it would function. It might be like inside or just at the end of the sort of main structure where we placed those wave power plants. But it could also be in the garbage distribution building that we placed to the side. Like it could be like the turbine hall in that part. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that I wanted to add some kind of asymmetry to the dam by adding this sort of intake on one side, and then there's actually a water spawn, or a water outlet downstream on the side as well, that sort of would show the path of this alternate path the water might take through this structure. But as I said, I'm not a dam engineer. Though I really should know more, or should try to understand more, but I just like to build stuff that I see in real life, and or like sort of get inspired by it, and you know, as all of us really, right? It doesn't have to be 1-to-1 almost ever. Like, I mean, 1-to-2 is very good also. Where I'm using the industrial bridge and using node controller to reduce the distance, the distance length. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's another one of those features that I didn't know the node controller renewal actually had. So I'm so happy to finally see like a lot of the features I needed from the old node controller are included in node controller renewal. So, oh, here we're clearing the dam, and we've flooded a lot of areas now. So we flooded the entire road to the outside connection, and I'm raising it up, and I'm thinking about reconnecting it again. So I don't do all that much more on the dam. I think the dam is pretty close to how it is in the end now. I do some detailing afterwards, and I do detail up with power lines, which I kind of almost forgot in I should have showed that as well, but I get really anxious and nervous about... I like doing power lines, but I like to have power lines, but I don't like doing them a lot, because I think the vanilla acid power lines are kind of bad, unfortunately. So I think we're gonna see more power lines in a future episode without spoiling too much. There's gonna be more power line work, so even if that's missing from this video, you'll get my take on it in a bit. Here I'm trying my best actually to get some rocks here to break up the monotony of the sort of the slopes, and this is a trick I learned from. I mean, I'm trying to copy another really great creator, Shukaboa, who I didn't taught me but showed this in a video, and I got like really inspired to try it. I haven't really played around so much with the vanilla rocks like this. The idea is that you can place them on the water side and like create a sort of very unique looking cliff. I go around and try a lot of things, and eventually settle for something that's really nice, but it's gonna take some trial and error. It's also really interesting how good these rocks fit into the vanilla temperate map theme. I didn't really consider that before, like how good you can make them look. What I'm doing with these rocks is I'm using move it to delete them and undo, or like you can use reset function or whatever, but basically placing them a bunch of times, and then they change colors. You can see it here. So that is really useful. And completely vanilla as well. You can place, you don't need any mods to place the rocks like that. You do need rocks. You do need mods, however, to place the trees like I'm doing here. So I'm placing trees inside the rocks to make them look like more sort of overgrown in a way. I'm using tree control, the sort of modern tree anarchy mod, which I'm really liking, by the way. Yeah, those rocks, like, I think once it's finished, you're gonna see it. Like, they really elevate the dam and make it look so much more interesting. And we go ahead and actually add a viewpoint that sort of goes out over the rocks, so you can sort of look at the dam, and like that's my favorite sort of final detail I add in. Or maybe it's not the final detail I add in the recording, but it's like definitely one of my final details to add. I love these viewpoints, and like a dam like this, I feel like it should have some kind of place you could go out and like just look at it. It feels like kind of realistic. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. So the video is, we're soon approaching the sort of live play at the end, which isn't the final sort of detailed build, by the way. The cinematics will have the final details in them, but the live play at the end is approaching, and I forgot to ask you guys for kindly liking and subscribing and following if you liked this video, so I'll do that here instead. If you don't mind. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it really motivates me a lot that you guys are liking this, but I will do this regardless. Like, keep it, like, know this is for me. I'm doing this build because I need to do this before it's too late, like before the new game comes along, and you know, we'll be having so much fun with that. So this is me, like, coping or saying goodbye to this game, or like not goodbye, but saying sort of I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's goodbye. Maybe it's just sort of dealing with the uncertainty of the future, but it's definitely complicated, and I guess this is my way of processing whatever it is that's going on. So, and here I'm doing the bushes, which I do believe this needs to be the final detail in the video. I can see the end, or the time lapse recording. That's what it's called. The final detail of a time lapse recording will probably be the tree work here. I can spoil that I do go ahead and detail up the roads that head to the map edge and up that valley. I do go and make those. And it looks great, but I didn't record any of that in the video. I have recorded it, but it's just gonna, that took almost as long as making the dam, because I didn't prepare it in the same way apparently. But let me know if you want. I could release that as a sort of time lapse, but probably a time lapse without commentary, because I kind of already did videos on roads like that, and it's not all that interesting. But anyway, let me know if you want that, and I'll I might use that footage. Okay, it's coming to a close. Yes, I'm checking out for now. See you in a few seconds. Hello guys, so I'm back, and that was the build, pretty much. Oh my goodness, practicing before and then just sort of copying it made it a lot easier. It probably takes more time than it should still, but I am loving how this looks. This is probably my favorite dam I've ever built so far. And it's not a massive dam, it's a decently sized, medium. I don't know, it just fits so well into the valley. Like, I bet when we zoom out, it's just gonna look great. Yeah, that's nice. And it produces, I think it still produces around 80. Pretty stable. That stable production. That's so good. I was sort of thinking about maybe adding like water pumps and stuff like that. I'd probably talk about that in the voiceover, to be honest, but keeping it simple when it comes to dams is the way to go, because they are very complicated. I still want to do some detailing here, like on detail the roundabouts and the intersections maybe a little bit, and this road here, up here, this one I'm not sold completely about. Like, we might replace it, delete it, or I'll just go and detail it off camera. I'm gonna detail it off, or like try to fix it up and see if I can make it look good. In that case, it's staying. Otherwise, we just might end the road here at the dam, and I'll definitely go ahead and make this connection up here from this road up to the plateau. Just connects up the map in a new and interesting way. Like, we're still creating shortcuts. We're creating more and more shortcuts. We're also getting traffic now because I connected the outside connection, or the road to the map. I connected the road to the outside edge of a map, yes. Because by default the map only has 4 outside connections. I've done it that way because it's better like vanilla to have a like limited amount of outside connections, and then like it would be insane with traffic if we had every single dummy road connecting to the outside, like here and here, here and here. But I don't know, like eventually as this build progresses, we might just add more of them to the outside and see, like, if we get more traffic, is it going to be a big problem? Can we even like play around with solving that traffic? Yeah, I think that's going to be fun. But for the map, like the map that's released to the workshop, they're dummy connections, most of the connections to the outside, most of the roads that go to the map edge. Yeah, I really love this build. I'll include some cinematics of the sort of post detailing, and then I guess we see if this road stays or not, and if this if I get this connected up. But that's gonna be it for the recording anyway. See you guys.